Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another Spud Reacts. In today's video, we are going to be taking a dive into Wolters World. This is my first reaction to him, although I have seen some of his videos before. He posted a new video called 8 European Cities Destroyed by Overtourism. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds scary to me because I am somebody who wants to be a tourist and go overseas and see a bunch of these places. But if they're destroyed, that doesn't sound good. So in this video, we are going to talk about the 8 cities specifically that he's talking about, and hopefully it generates some sort of discussion about, is this true? Are these cities actually destroyed? Is over-tourism actually a thing? Is it a good thing? Do you think it's overpopulated in these areas? Should they only allow a certain amount of visitors to go to these areas? Questions like that. I'm curious to know your thoughts on it. So if you have a thought, go ahead and drop it in the comments. So without further ado, let's see what Walter has to say.
Hey there, fellow travelers, Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're here in Dublin, Ireland, and today we're going to be talking about is over-tourism in Europe. Look, there are destinations in Europe that are really overflowing with tourists to the point that the cities can't handle it, and I kind of wanted to talk about some of those really famous places that you...
So that begs a question right there. So it's because the cities cannot handle it. What exactly does that mean? Does that just mean like there's, 100 people come in and they all go to this restaurant and it only can serve 50 people? So now there's wait times for the restaurant, and, they're just, I don't know, buying up all the souvenirs. Who knows? What do you guys think it actually means?
You want to visit when you come to Europe, but you really will see an overabundance of tourists. I mean, they're kind of a victim of their own success because these are all fantastic places, but I just want you to have an idea of where the ones I've seen the most over-tourism, overall, okay? And probably one I need to talk about, and one you'll hear about in the news, is Venice, Italy. In Venice, you'll see there's so many more tourists that go there every year than people that live there. I mean, we're talking millions of visitors, but only like 40,000 inhabitants actually in the city, and it does get overrun, and especially when the cruise ships would come in, it became kind of more than the city could handle. And so they've limited where the cruise ships can go, and they've actually instituted a fee for coming into the town to kind of combat some of that over tourism. But
that makes sense. Just charge them more money. You want to come here? Only the people that have a lot of money that can come here. That might seem unfair to some people, but I mean, what else can you do? So he did say that there are more tourists that go to a city than there are people living there. I wonder how those people who live there actually feel about the people coming to their country or their city. That sounds like it'd be miserable.
Yeah, Venice is one of those places you're going to never be alone. No matter how many back alleys you go into, there'll be some other tourists that'll pop up there as well. Another place in Italy where I see a lot of over-tourism, a lot of really like just smash in like sardines kind of places, is on the Amalfi Coast. If you're going to Positano or Amalfi, you'll notice all the streets you're walking down, all the steps you're going up and down to go to the beaches and stuff are packed full of tourists from Italy, from around the world, from all over. But that's another place. That's why I tell people, look, if you don't want to get run over and smash like a sardine in Amalfi, maybe try Puglia, another part of Italy. That might be another good place to go because it's beautiful, great food, and not as many tourists, okay? Another place that I see...
Yeah, there was a place off of, I think it was Equalizer 3. It was a city like right off of Italy. I think it was more southern, maybe. I feel like maybe it's one of those names. Maybe somebody can figure that out.
A lot of tourists go, and it really is kind of like on the over-tourism board, but they've done a really good job of managing it, though, is Barcelona, Spain. And in Barcelona, you have tourists that come all year round, so that's one of the things. It's got
that's the one I want to go
all
to.
The time. And there's tons of museums, there's beaches there, there's stuff for everybody, hence why everybody floods in. But the city has done a good job of kind of mitigating this by trying to get people to go out to other cities. Like, go visit Girona when you're here. Go head out to the beaches when you're here. Have a day of culture when you're here. So that's kind of a nice thing. But honestly, when you go to Barcelona, you are going to be with everybody when you're there. Also, that's probably one of the reasons why it's the pickpocket capital of Europe, because so many tourists get there and you're so smashed together, you don't notice when people are picking your pocket or maybe lifting your bag.
Okay, if you are somebody that does not notice when somebody is reaching their hand in your pocket, I think we have other issues at hand. No pun intended. But you got to know if somebody's like touching you. I could see if you have a bag and it's not really on your body and they kind of reach in there and grab something off the top, but to dig in your bag or to dig in your pocket, I feel like you should probably feel that.
Bag. Now, another city that is suffering from over-tourism but is doing a good job of handling it, I feel, is Paris. And Paris has been probably the most visited city in the world for years upon years upon years, because you have the culture, you have the arts, you have the sights, you have the people, you have the food, you have so much wonderful things there that people just love visiting, no matter what time of the year it is. But Paris has done a good job, especially with the metro system, because you're never more than 500 meters away from a metro stop. So you can stay outside the center and come in, so you can really visit and kind of, be less central when you are there, which helps when you look at the over-tourism. However, when it is one of those things like the Louvre, like going to Musée d'Orsay, the Eiffel Tower, you will have long lines, you will have things. And I think that's something very important, not just in places that are over-touristed, but anywhere you go in Europe, if you can pre-book your tickets, it's worth it. I'm here in Dublin, and you can go see the Book of Kells, but you pre-book your ticket so you know when you can go, because sometimes things book out. If you want to go to the jail here, it books out. They only let it 28 days before, and boom, they sell it very quickly. And I guess
I wanted to pause it right there because I wanted to talk about Paris a little bit. I've always heard that Paris or Paris hates Americans. Is that true? I just feel like they think that, we're disgusting and just our country in general is disgusting. I would almost be fearful to go to France and more specifically Paris. But I just think because of the way you'd be treated, I guess if you try to speak their language a little bit and try to relate to them, it might be helpful and more advantageous for you. But I've always worried that there would be some problem going there. I would love to visit there. I would love to see the Louvre, the Eiffel Tower and whatnot. I think that would be amazing, but it's almost scary. It's like, do you even want to go there anymore? I still think it would be worth it. Maybe you guys have some insight.
That's another city I really need to talk about. Is Dublin is another city that's really got the over-tourism kind of thing.
I want to go there really
bad, too. There are tons
of
people that are visiting here, going to school here, learning English here. And there's so many people here that it does get a little overrun. And that's one of the things. When you go to these places that are kind of affected by over-tourism, it kind of takes away from the overall experience of visiting the country. That's why I tell people, when you get frustrated with Venice because it doesn't feel like it's real Italy, or you're not getting the best food, or when you're frustrated with all the people in Dublin, I don't feel like I'm getting that super friendly, all the time awesomeness of Ireland. It's because of all the tourists that are there. There's just not enough time and not enough energy and not enough space. So it's something to think about. Now, another place where you're really going to feel the impact of over-tourism is Dubrovnik, Croatia. I mean, when you go to Dubrovnik and there are tour buses there, and there are tour groups
I don't think I've ever heard of this
ships in the port, the city is completely packed. Whether you're walking down the cobbled streets or you're up on the city walls, you are always bombarded with more tourists. Now, the thing is, the city's gorgeous. But when the tourists and the cruise ships are there, it gets something that's almost hard to handle. That's why that's one of those places, if you're in the evening time, when everyone's gone back to their cruise ships and stuff, it actually is a wonderful place to be. And that's just it. All these cities are fantastic places to go. But if you can beat the crowds and not being there when it's super over touristy, it might be a good thing to look at. But if you want to go to another historic city when you are in Croatia, when you don't want to be overrun by in Dubrovnik, you can go down to Split, which is another beautiful city that you can go and visit. Now, another city that's been suffering with over-tourism for a number of years and kind of put their foot down and said, we're tired of this, is Amsterdam. And in Amsterdam,
oh, man. Dang it. Amsterdam, that's another one that I've really wanted to go to.
The Amsterdam sign right by the Rijksmuseum. They're like, nope, too many tourists here. And so they moved it actually to another part of the city to get tourists to go to a different part of the city. And the thing is Amsterdam actually actively is not promoting the tourists to come there. Like they want specific tourists. They don't want general tourists. And so the city has done a lot of stuff to kind of make it more, not difficult, but more expensive or less convenient for everyday travelers to go versus targeted travelers. But regardless of what they do, Amsterdam still is full of tourists, and that's not just the red light district, it's also the museums. I mean, you can go see the Anne Frank house. You want to book it right when you book your tickets for Amsterdam, book your tickets to the Anne Frank house to make sure you can get in. Also,
I would love to do that.
Time ticket for that as well. So something to kind of think about. Now, this past summer we spent in Greece, and there's actually two spots in Greece that really suffer from over-tourism. One is Athens, because people go there and they want to go to the Acropolis, and it's one of those days where it's almost so hot they can't have the Acropolis open in the afternoon.
Oh, what? They close it because it's so hot? I think that'd be a good thing to leave it open, because the people who can endure it, like me, I would go straight there and be no lines because everybody's thinking it's too hot. But to actually close it, does it do something to, the buildings or something because it's so hot? I don't know. I think that'd be a good way to reduce the tourism.
You'll see the waves of people at the Acropolis, and you'll see the people going through the Plata.
That is crazy.
It just really gets to be just too much sometimes. So one of the things I want to tell you, if you're in one of these places with the over-tourism and there's too much there and it's really freaking you out, take a break. find a cafe, go get a drink, get yourself away from it, or do a day trip from some of these places. For example, Amsterdam. Instead of staying in Amsterdam, why don't you stay in Haarlem or Utrecht? If you're going to be in Athens, go visit Piraeus. Go visit the port where you're there. There's some stuff to see there, and that can kind of get you away from that insanity.
He's bringing up a great point. If you are there and you are feeling overwhelmed, go visit another place. There are tons of places there. Yes, there might be specific monuments in that city. However, the country is still beautiful. You can literally go down the road and see other beautiful things.
Of the over-tourism. And another place I think is important to mention for over-tourism is Santorini. The island with the white buildings and the blue domes in Greece. Yeah, I mean, that place is just completely ransacked in the summertime, like insane. Like, you can't just show up and get a place. You have to book everything beforehand, restaurants, doing things. I mean, it's insane. And that's the thing, is people sometimes don't realize that, yes, it's a beautiful place to go, but you do have to really prepare. That's why
I'm just going to stop it right there. I'm one of those people. I did not know that it was so overcrowded and so busy that you had to book way before. It's like this Disney castle where you got to book like 2 years in advance. That's crazy, because by 2 years you're like, oh, do I even want to go to this place anymore? But that place specifically, those white buildings, that's like iconic. I remember that when I was a child. I was like, hey, I want to go there. I want to stay in one of these houses and just eat the food and just live that life there. But apparently it's extremely hard to do.
All these places I'm saying here, they're all worth going to. They're all fantastic. But you have to realize, with the over-tourism there, sometimes the locals are a bit done. The locals like, look, you've made it so it's too expensive for me to live here too. And so there is some animosity sometimes towards tourists in these places. Like here in Dublin, the lack of accommodation is an issue, not just for tourists, but for the locals. So when you're considering your destinations for going to Europe, maybe you think about the over-tourist kind of places that might be a little bit too many people for you, and maybe go visit those in the fall or the spring or the winter, so you're not like getting overwhelmed with the other tourists.
I'm curious to know, if you are a local in one of these countries that were mentioned, one of the 8, let me know if you think it's actually, overcrowded. Have you had issues with other people coming to your country? Do you know of other countries that have to deal with it? Maybe family or friends that deal with it? What do they say about it? And also, what are your thoughts on over-tourism? How can we combat that or mitigate that? Should steps be in place to not allow people to go there, allow them to only go a couple times a year? What are your thoughts? But as always, guys, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please go ahead and leave me a like. And if you haven't subscribed already, please be sure to do so. And be ready for my next video.